All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, February 11th. We have just 4 games on today's NBA slate. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down in the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, that'll be for free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. All right, in terms of how we did yesterday, another 2-0 night. Now, still, I don't deem it worthy of the money gun or anything. 0.25 unit, 2 of those plays there. LaMelo did get injured, so I guess we lucked out there. And Bencaro went off for 30+. So 2 good looks there. Again, LaMelo getting injured doesn't really strike it as a good look. Probably shouldn't say that, but still sweat-free, I guess, nonetheless. So, yeah, 2 back-to-back nights of 2-0. I'm still not feeling all that tremendous, so luckily it's only a 4-game slate. I don't think we have to rush things today, but that's why we only had the 2 plays for a quarter unit yesterday. Like I mentioned in the video, we've been dealing with some sort of stomach bug. Things are a lot better today, so I'm hoping today's a better day, but nonetheless, that's why we were kind of light on a bigger slate yesterday. Unfortunately, our ride of the day, got to drop the womp womp on CB here. Been consistently hitting with Bencaro's under and threes, and honestly, looking at the trends, that was consistently hitting. But Paolo, we had his over in points yesterday. The under and threes does not come through. He had, I think it was 4 threes. So yeah, it was consistently hitting. I put my jinx on it. It was still a good look, and I liked the spot here for CB. But if you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays. If you lose, you got to face the womp womp like my man did have to face today. But you know what? Still all good. It still was a good look. Don't mind that play. Just didn't hit last night. But all right, what do you say we jump into today's slate? Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Started off with Philly taking on Toronto. So a couple things to note in this one. Obviously, when we have Philly playing, very important to say, all right, well, let's take a peek at the injury report, right? Joel Embiid listed as questionable, Kyle Lowry out, and then Eric Gordon listed as questionable. There's still a ton of injuries to note for Toronto, so this is like the injury game here today. Grady Dick questionable, Mogbo listed as questionable, actually probable, RJ Barrett out, Brandon Ingram out, Jakob Poeltl out, PJ Tucker out. So a lot of, like I mentioned, injuries in this spot. I do think that this is going to be a game in which, Philly can kind of control the pace and control what's going on here. The question is 9 points a little bit too much? Philly 3 straight losses. That's to Miami, Detroit, and Milwaukee, right? Toronto, on the other hand, had been playing really good basketball. Remember when they were playing good basketball? Well, now they have 4 straight losses, but it's against New York, Memphis, OKC, and Houston. So even though they've lost 4 straight, I do think that their losses can be kind of excused. While Philadelphia, yes, they've been injured in and out of the lineup depending on who's playing each and every night. I just think that 9 points is a little bit too much. So I think Philly wins this game. Quite honestly, I think that, them at home, they're playing competitive basketball, right? Like, they're not getting blown out in these spots, whereas Toronto has some bad losses. But I do think 9 points is a little bit too much, especially if Embiid doesn't play. I'm hoping that Grady Dick plays and I guess Mogbo plays, because their center position is going to be really, really weak on that Toronto side of things. If he doesn't play, and then Embiid playing would just kind of eat down there, right? So kind of depending on injuries, but I'm going to lean towards Toronto plus the 9. Just seems like a little bit too much. Do I have the cojones to get that down myself? Most likely not. This is not a spot in which I'm like eagerly chomping at the bit to get to the window. In terms of the pace and the total here, like I said, I think Philly's going to control this pace, which they have not been playing fast basketball whatsoever. Neither one of these teams are all that efficient on the offensive end. My concern is that they're not that efficient on the defensive end, but I'm hoping that the pace stays low. Philly had been playing fairly, mid to low pace. They have a couple high-scoring games as of late, but Toronto on the road this year doesn't strike me as a team that's going to be flying around, right? They've only hit the over in 44% of their games this year, so hopefully both of these two teams together kind of have a low-scoring one. I'm going to go towards the under 226. In terms of how they fared last time they played, 115 to 107. That was way earlier on in the season, so that came to a 222 game. Hopefully see something similar to that. And I do think Embiid being out or in doesn't really impact my decision there, because Embiid in, okay, maybe he'll slow things down. Embiid out, there may be less of a scorer on the Philly side of things, you know what I mean? And then no major player props. Like I said, there's so many injuries in this game, not exactly excited for it. All right, next up, Indiana taking on New York. Now, I looked at this and I was kind of, I guess, surprised by the spread in general here. Just 3 points were given Indiana. This should be a fairly healthy Knicks team. Like, when I saw this, I was like, there's got to be something. Bridges, Brunson, or Towns must be injured, right? No, Josh Hart's probable, OG Anunoby questionable, like nothing new there. Miles Turner's even questionable, so this seems like somewhat of a trap spot, I guess. I mean, the Knicks have been playing fine basketball. Their 2 losses here in the last few games were against the Lakers, okay, and that was that nationally televised one where really no one saw it coming. I think they were double-digit favorites, and they got smoked by the Celtics. Okay, the Celtics get up for big games, right? Indiana, on the other hand, they lost to the Lakers as well in LA. They lost to San Antonio. They lost to the red-hot Portland team, so both these teams have been playing good basketball, but we can't deny that there's just a influx more of talent on the New York side of things, right? Yeah, they're on the road. We can probably use that as somewhat of an argument to be like, oh, well, that makes sense, right? But Indiana's only covered in 47.5% of their games on the road this season. So I sit here and I'm kind of concerned, because it's like I feel like the Knicks should be heavy favorites. Not heavy, but like, maybe 6-point favorites. You look at their recent game, and it's like, okay, well, back in November, Indiana actually won. That game was a game in which Brunson had a good game, Towns had a good game, Bridges didn't. Like, maybe that's what they're looking at in terms of setting this line. But to me, it's just like that win was 35 from Halliburton and 38 from Mathurin. I don't think we get 38 out of Benedict Mathurin again, right? So yeah, give me the Knicks minus the 3. I've seen some 2.5s out there. Am I missing something in this game? Someone let me know. Even if we break this game down from a, where they're going to score from and whatnot, that both these teams can score in the paint, but the Knicks, the best or one of the best teams at scoring in the paint this season. Indiana, not exactly all that great. This season, 5th most points in the paint, right? If they're going to want to shoot the 3, the Knicks have actually been a lot better at defending the 3 lately. Some of their more recent game numbers will be a little bit skewed because they played the Celtics, and the Celtics hammer home 3s, right? But yeah, I'm really struggling to find some spots in which I'm able to like Indiana over the Pacers here. Maybe you're coming from a perspective of, I guess, looking at it now, they can cover the pick and roll, which is something that the Knicks do a lot. Indiana also terrible against the isolation, though. Knicks do a lot of isolation. Pull-up offense, sure, Indiana's good at defending that. Catch and shoot, good at defending that, but the Knicks are good at defending the catch and shoot. I'm struggling to find reasons why Indiana are only 3-point dogs and 2.5-point dogs in some cases. So maybe that's the square NBA fan in me, just thinking like what the chalk play is, but give me the Knicks minus the points. Let me know in the comments if I'm absolutely missing something and I'm just a dummy about this right now, because yes, the only thing that I can see is, yeah, Indiana beat them last time. Cool. 38 from Benedict Mathurin, 35 from Halliburton. I don't think that happens again today. From a total perspective, you have Indiana, who's playing at a fast pace, 6th over the last 10 or so games. The Knicks, 20th here. If I think the Knicks are going to win this game, I do believe they slow things down a little bit. If you look at these, the last few games between both of these teams and look at it to this line, you have the under hitting in 6 of the last 10 games for the Knicks as well as the Pacers. So 240 seems just a tad bit high. I'm going to lean slightly towards the under. Like I said, I do think the Knicks are going to be able to score, and hopefully the key to this pace is that the Knicks defense kind of shows up from 3, because that can get us in trouble, especially when looking at an under. A player prop spot that I would consider, I wish it was at 6.5, which obviously it's not there, so we can't get it there. But I don't mind Jalen Brunson's assists today. But maybe there's some sort of same game parlay that we could throw in where it's like, a lowered point value, right? We get his points and his assists there. I just think that if this Indiana team is going to be able, like I mentioned, is going to be able to stop the pick and roll to some degree, Brunson's going to come off those screens, not exactly score, but have to dish it. And hopefully that we're seeing, him give it to Karl Anthony Towns or something like that to be able to finish, especially with Miles Turner out. So maybe I'd look at that. My one sort of drawback of that, so I'm giving you all sides of it because now it's going to counter that point, is that I mentioned how Indiana is good at stopping the catch and shoot. Brunson shouldn't have those, and he won't have those off the pick sort of ditch to the outside for a spot up 3 opportunity. So that's kind of why I'm, putting this around in my mind. I'm not exactly sure, but it is a spot that I'd consider. But honestly, I was kind of pegging it more at 6.5, which I really like. 7.5. Kind of dicey there, but this game definitely has potential, so keep an eye on the pinned comment. It'll take you to the Guy Boston Sports site. If we add any final plays, I'll throw them in there and I'll give you a little blurb if we haven't talked about it in this video. Speaking of player props, guys, it is Taco Tuesday over on Prize Picks. They're still running the play 5 get 50 right there, get 50 deal right now, meaning all you have to do is place a $5 entry as a new customer. You get $50 instantly in promo funds into your account. Absolutely a steal of a deal, and I just rhymed. Go check it out, guys. Prize Picks down below. Link in the description as well as the pinned comment. Sign up. You'll get that play 5, get 50. If that $5 entry hits, you still cash that payout and keep that payout. You get the $50 additionally, right? It's really, really cool. And like I said, it's Taco Tuesday. They'll be discounting squares throughout the day that you could put into your lineups with that $5 today as well. So go ahead and check it out, guys. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. All right, a couple more games to get into here. All right, Chicago taking on Detroit. I actually think this should be a pretty competitive game. If we look at the injury report here, realistically, nothing major to note. If you want to say Lonzo Ball is a major injury, sure, but we have Kevin Huerter suiting up, Josh Giddey good to go, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Nikola Vucevic, right? And then on the Detroit side of things, other than Jaden Ivey, they should be good to go as well. So I think this should be a fairly competitive game. Last time these two teams played was earlier this month, and it was fairly competitive, right? A 127-119 win for Detroit in Detroit. Time before that, November 18th, 122-112 win for Chicago. Now we look at these two squads and how they like to score. We know Chicago is going to try and light it up from 3, right? And if they're hot, they should have some success because this is not the best Detroit 3-point defense. So now 0.1 for Chicago. We flip it over to the Detroit side of things. We know that they're going to try and score from 2, right? And they're very good at that. Well, Chicago, one of the worst teams in the league at defending points in the paint. Now that said, they've been a lot better at it as of late. So I guess I can give them some credit, but you have, point for Detroit there. You know what I mean? It's like both teams should be able to score from their preferred scoring zone per se, right? And we've kind of seen that already. We saw a game of 127-119, like I mentioned, way over. Then we saw I think it was what's 122 plus 112, boom, 134, a high scoring game there as well. So it's like we should be in store for a high scoring game. This total's already down to 236 in some places. I know I have 238.5 over there, but I don't mind an over right away. I don't think either one of these squads are all that good defensively, and where Detroit is good defensively, because we can give them some credit, it's not really the strong suit, for them where Chicago likes to score from. Now, in terms of where we get to on a side here, this is a team in which Chicago that's actually a very good isolation team, even though, like I've mentioned multiple times this year, they don't have the guys that run isolation, but they score really well in isolation. So, for example, if we use our dashboard here, and I can show you guys how to get access to this dashboard in just a second. If we look at this, right? Chicago only running this season the 24th most isolation plays, so or running isolation that much, right? They're not all that isolation heavy, but they're scoring they have the second best effective field goal percentage off isolation plays, and they're scoring at the 3rd highest clip. So if they just had someone that could run isolation, they should be good to go, but they really don't. I've mentioned Josh Giddey having some good spots, in isolation, and I don't mind him. Looks like we have him pegged for around 15, 8, and 6, which is pretty good in terms of where I'd put him. So maybe we'll consider his player props in just a second. We'll get to that. But I think that could be huge in terms of what we have from Chicago being able to stay within this game. My only concern is that staying in the game isn't going to be enough, right? Like 5 points isn't staying in the game. Chicago has to compete here, and they're not all that great in terms of that consistency from 3. So I think just due to the fact that, yeah, we have Detroit who struggles from 3. Chicago loves to shoot the 3s, right? Just because of that doesn't give me enough reason or confidence in Chicago. I'm going to take the team that should have some real success at scoring in the paint. I'm going to lean towards Detroit in this spot, minus the 4.5 points. I'm almost at Chicago, though. Like I said, this is a good game. I think it goes back and forth, but the way that I phrase it, and even with the words I use, like, Chicago should be able to stay in this game. But if you're just 4-point underdogs, like, staying in the game isn't 4 points. Like, that's if we we got 7 points here, 6.5, 7.5, that type of thing, maybe there's a look for Chicago. But if you're 4-point dogs, you should have a chance to win the game, and I just can't fully get there. So give me Chicago, give me Detroit minus the points, but very, very close to considering a spot here for obviously Chicago, because again, if they hit their threes, they should be good to go. Now, like I mentioned, Josh Giddey, I think could be a good look. Since the trade, he's been pretty damn good in terms of scoring. We've taken his points plus assists a few times, hasn't been all that great, but right now his points are at 14.5. He's been shooting the ball a decent amount, right? So that's obviously something to consider here. When he shoots the ball this season at least 10 times, which I believe he's done 11. Yeah, he's done pretty much 10. Yeah, he's had at least 10 shots in pretty much every trade, I think, except for, no, it looks like every time since the trade of Zach LaVine. So when he shoots the ball 10 times or more this season, he's hitting, actually not this season, let's go last 20 games. What do we say, last 10 maybe? That might be a little bit better. Yeah, he's averaging just over 14 points per game. I like that. He shoots the ball 11 times. Obviously, that's going to go up and up and up. The one thing I like about him is his field goal percentage in some of these spots is really great. Like, he's not taking these crazy shots, right? He's shooting about 40% from the field. When he's shooting 40% from the field, I'm just drawing all of these, examples, right? 56% hit rate over this season. You even strap out over the last few games, you even extrapolate the hit rate. I'm all over the place here. The sample size, he's hitting in plenty of games, averaging just under 15 points. So I like Josh Giddey, but we're going to want, obviously, that quantity from him versus the quality. I think we'll get the quality just by the way he plays his game. And he's going to have the usage enough that I think that when I say, Detroit struggles in isolation, could be a look, and he could be the guy to go to. He does like to shoot the spot up three, which is not exactly, the best spot for him, but we've seen tons of guys that do like to shoot threes kind of, I guess, do well against us. Like Max Strus just had 15 points back in early February as well, so, and Max Strus actually killed the Pistons twice. So yeah, could be a decent spot. Josh Giddey over in points, maybe points plus assists, even though he's been a little shaky to the assists, points plus assists could be a look here. It's at 21.5 right now. I don't mind it. All right, I mentioned getting access to that dashboard. This is the Guy Boston Sports site. You head over right to the members area, top right here. Go to the NBA dashboard. Now, I am logged in, so it is going to show for me once it loads, but we have right here the NBA dashboard each and every day. You get each game broken out in a visual format, so it can save you so much time, literally hours in research. We have team stats and trends here, as well as against the spread numbers. We have their shooting zones, visual of terms of how well they score from different spots on the floor, player projections, player versus position, defense versus position, I should say, catch and shoot numbers, isolation numbers, pick and roll numbers. We got everything here, each and every game broken out from a visual perspective. Again, all it is heading over to the members area here on GuyBostonSports.com. If you're not logged in, we'll set this to without membership access. You will see something that says, hey, you need to sign up. It's very, very simple. Got a couple membership options. So go ahead and check that out. It's the same site as the final plays down in the pinned comment. So go ahead and check that out. But yeah, if you want to become a member, check it out. These dashboards take a lot of work, and they're really, really cheap, but we do monetize them. So, based on what you're getting, I do think there's some serious value in there. Suns taking on the Grizz. Right now, fairly healthy team on the Memphis side of things, which we haven't really seen, all that much this season, right? Ja Morant, Bane, Wells, Jackson, and Edey all listed as good to go. On the other side of things, no Bradley Beal. Looks like Micic is listed as questionable here for the Suns. Grayson Allen listed as probable. And Cody Martin listed as out. But starting lineup-wise, Jones, Booker, Dunn, Durant, Richards, all looking like they're good to go as well. So we should have a pretty good game here on our hands. I do think that this Grizzlies team is more than 5 points better than the Suns. Now, Grizzlies are not at home. That's always something to consider, but I can't really sit here and be like, oh, well, this Suns team is phenomenal at home, right? On the year, they've only covered in 32% of their home games so far this season. They are 16-10 straight up, but again, they have not covered. Now, they're dogs in this one, so I get it, but this Grizzlies team just seems like they're a little bit better, and given the fact that they're coming off of a loss against OKC a few nights back, just kind of strikes me as a good spot for them. The Suns are coming off a loss as well. I understand that, but Memphis just seems like they're, I don't know, I would say head and shoulders better. And you throw in the fact that the Suns team are not all that great at stopping anyone in the paint. Where do the Grizzlies like to score from? In the paint, at the rim. That should be the case all night long. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Memphis in this one. Last time they played, which was this season, back in, I believe it was December, maybe early January. 117 to 112 win for Memphis. We'd take that here today, right, as 4-point favorite. So yeah, I like Memphis, especially if they're healthy. I like them to be able to score in the paint. Total's at 244.5. Definitely seems like it's very high. Phoenix doesn't play with all that fast of a pace, so I'm a little worried to take an over here in this spot. I will consider maybe a Memphis team total over, but even that, we're going to get a very high number. So I most likely won't roll with anything total-wise, but if I were to, yeah, I think that I would consider over 121.5 for Memphis here. I guess that's minus 160, super juiced, but it's as far as I'd honestly go. Player prop wise, yeah, I already kind of mentioned it. I'm looking at guys that are going to be able to score in the paint, which obviously there's a decent amount of them on this Memphis team, but this could be a Ja Morant game, right? Ja Morant obviously likes to take it to the hoop. So does Jaren Jackson right now in terms of what both of their lines are at. We have Ja Morant sitting at 21.5. I think that's a little bit too low. He hasn't played the Suns this season because, again, it's been a very injured team. Last year, I don't even know if we have. Let's see if I can find his last game against. I don't have that off the top of my head or in the notes. Let's see. Pull that up really quickly. Ja Morant versus the Suns. Yeah, I don't think we have it. That'll take too long. So anyways, I still think this is a good spot. He's been really dodgy to this line, 21.5. He's only averaging over his last 10 games, 18.5 points. So could be a little scary. Maybe Jaren Jackson Jr. could be someone that makes a little bit more sense, I guess. He's going to get the shots. He's been scoring at like 30-plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. Him against the Suns, he's crushed them 37, 28, 38. So he could definitely be a look. It's at 22.5. I don't mind both of these guys to have good days today. So, yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr., over 22.5 points I like, obviously. And he's going to have Durant on him, too. Like, he should be able to really kind of little boy Durant on the offensive end, right? So I like Jaren Jackson. That definitely has a chance to be a final play, and as well as Ja Morant. Maybe both those guys we could sprinkle on, hoping that they both have good games, you know what I mean, like quarter unit plays. And if neither one of them does, then we're screwed. But if one of them does, it at least mitigates the loss of, I guess, the other guy, right? So maybe that's something we do, both those guys, and they're over. I kind of like both guys to score in the paint today. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Again, if that was off a little bit, we're still not feeling all that great. Tried to do more in depth. Like, we had 10 games in 20 minutes yesterday. Now we did 4 in 20. Back to Ramble and Ev. I'm clearly feeling a little bit better, but really do appreciate everyone tuning in. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 21. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.